Amazon just dropped a bombshell. Starting in January, all employees must return to the office 5 days a week. And just when everyone thought remote work was here to stay, Amazon's
It is interesting how many of these companies were the first ones to promote remote work. They were the first ones to say that they were embracing working remotely during the pandemic, are now forcing people to go back to the office. Companies like Apple, Facebook, Google, Microsoft, Amazon said they were going to embrace this new era, this new culture, and now they are saying, well, you are actually more productive if you come back to the office because this promotes sharing ideas and all of that stuff. I don't know. It is interesting that the first ones to say that they were going to embrace working remotely are now the first ones to start forcing people to come back to the office 5 days a week, which is basically every day.
decision has sent ripples through the tech world. That's why we are going to discuss how we got here, what people are saying about this, and what this means for AWS's future. If you're in this industry, this is going to have a direct impact on you. So I'll be breaking down exactly what this means.
I believe the reason that he's saying that if you are in this industry, this is going to affect you is because if Amazon, which is a very big player in the tech industry, starts doing this, many people are going to follow. And by people, I mean corporations. If you normally, when you see a corporation do something, the others will follow if they see that this works. For example, Apple was the first one or the first company to say that they were not going to include a charging brick in the boxes of the new phones. And when the other company saw that, well, people are still buying their phones, they started doing the same thing. So here, because Amazon is a very big player in the tech industry, it is very likely that others are going to follow.
For you. So, after March 2020, companies worldwide were forced to adopt remote working models almost overnight. As lockdowns were implemented, businesses scrambled to set up virtual offices, and employees adapted to working from home. This sudden shift demonstrated that many jobs could be performed effectively away from the office.
Yes, basically any office job can be performed remotely, especially software engineering. If you're a programmer, you can do that at home. And it baffles me that people are promoting that you have to go back to the office, especially in these multinational corporations, because even if you are in the office, you're going to have to take meetings with people in other places, like in India or in the US. So even if you go to the office, you're probably going to have Zoom meetings. And so what's the purpose here? I can take a Zoom meeting here in my home or in the office. For me, it doesn't really matter where you are.
Tech giants like Amazon, Google, and Facebook were among the first to send their employees home. These companies already had the digital infrastructure in place, so they were well positioned to transition to remote work. As the pandemic wore on, many employees began to enjoy this flexibility and work-life balance that remote work offered. And we then hit a turning point where companies began to grapple with the question of how to bring employees back to the office. You see, they're all locked in to leases for their huge office space.
Yes, that's something that I understand from the employer's perspective or from the corporation's perspective, because many of them have bought or leased very big spaces in I don't know, offices, in office buildings, and they even built campuses and very big structures, and they had to pay regardless of the pandemic. So now that the pandemic is over, they need to find a use for that space. For example, I work in a company and they recently have bought a campus, a very big campus. I I bet they spent like 100 million building that campus because it was very big, and they had a they have a gym, they have a very big cafeteria, and they have all of these nice things, at football field, a basketball field. It was a very big campus, and it is a very big investment. So these companies, they have already bought these places, and now they need to find a use for them. So they somehow need to bring people back. So I kind of understand that they now need to force people or incentivize them to come back. I don't know if forcing people is the right approach, as in just come back to the office or get fired. But yes, I guess.
Basis on long-term contracts, so this remote working couldn't last forever. Therefore, many opted for hybrid models. So they allowed employees to split their time between home and the office. And this has become...
Yes, this is what happened at in my job. They told us that we had the choice to come back to the office, take a hybrid model, which is work from home 3 days a week or 2 days a week, and come back to the office 2 days a week, or fully remote. Many employers gave people this choice, but sadly or sadly for them, many people still opted to be remote or work remotely because they were already gone. They weren't in the city on which these offices were, so they had to work remotely.
The industry standard now. Amazon initially followed this trend, requiring employees to be in the office at least 3 days a week. Until recently, CEO Andy Jassy announced that starting in January 2025, Amazon employees will be required to return to the office 5 days a week. Jassy justified this decision by saying it would lead to better collaboration and innovation, improved learning and mentoring opportunities, stronger team connections, and reinforcement of company culture.
I don't know if these things are true or not. I'm not aware of any studies that say conclusively if working in an office is better for collaboration, for learning, for team connections, or company culture. I guess it can be true in some circumstances, but it can not be true in other circumstances. If you find the studies, if you search for studies on the internet on this subject, on is working on the office better than working remotely, you will find plenty of studies in both sides. Some are going to say that working remotely is bad. Some are going to say that working remotely is good and it leads to people having better productivity. So it is hard to say if these things are true. People just have their point of view, and it is very hard to change it.
In other words, a whole load of... Now, this move aligns with Jassy's previous statements, where he suggested that those unable to commit to office work might not have a future at AWS. Now, as you can imagine, it sparks...
That is a very, very strong statement. Imagine that your employer one day says, well, if you don't come back to the office, you won't have a future here. That's very scary.
Significant backlash from Amazon employees and the public. An AWS engineer posted on LinkedIn, Amazon has announced a 5-day RTO, which is unfortunate because I'm interested in working for a living, not live action role playing and virtue signaling. If you have remote opportunities available, please message me. Nothing is off the table. I'd rather go back to school than work in the office again. On Reddit, an apparent Amazon employee of 3 years said they are probably going to soft quit and get a new job. Some speculate that this mandate is a sneaky attempt to reduce headcount. This is a layoff.
That is interesting, and that's something that I see that many people are saying that companies are doing right now. The companies know that if they tell you that you have to go back to the office no matter what, many people are just going to quit because they don't want to, or because they can't, or for whatever reason. So that's a way of firing people without having to fire them. That's what some people are saying that these companies are doing. I do believe that this is true for many of them, but I'm not sure if this is the case here. I mean, many companies are just firing people all over the place right now. There have been layoffs at Google, Apple, Amazon, Microsoft, Oracle, any tech company. So tech companies are not scared of the bad publicity. So I'm not sure if this is true or not, but it can be, definitely.
In disguise. Return to the office or you're fired, and we don't have to pay any severance or unemployment. Another user echoed this by saying,
it is much better for a company that you quit rather than them firing you, because that way they don't have to give you severance packages or bonuses or any of these perks that they have to give you if they fire you.
Saying soft layoffs. The layoffs come if they don't hit the firing numbers that they're looking for. I think you can tell that it's obviously not been welcomed at all. And from what I've read, many are arguing flexible work arrangements is the key to retaining top talent and leads to better productivity overall. That's in direct contradiction to what Andy Jassy is saying. So who is right? A Stanford University study found that employees who spend 2 days a week working from home are just as productive as those reporting to the office full-time. On the surface, that says hybrid work model is probably more optimal, but I think it's more nuanced than that. For roles that require frequent brainstorming and team collaboration, in-person work might indeed boost productivity, while other roles that primarily involve independent work, hybrid models might be more productive by reducing distractions and commute time. What do we know for sure is employee satisfaction is obviously going to be affected negatively in a major way. Many have restructured their lives around remote work, so a return.
That is also true. Many people restructured their lives when the pandemic started and you were allowed to work remotely. And before the pandemic, I was a full-time employee, and well, I am still a full-time employee, but what I mean is that I had to go to the office 5 days a week. Now, when the pandemic started, many people just went back to their parents' home. They moved to a cheaper place. They found a new place to live that didn't require to be close to the office. So this disruption is very difficult it is very difficult to accommodate to this new go back to the office thing, because you don't know how to go back to the office without leaving many things behind. Like if you already bought a home very far or in another city, well, you just sell it. If you need to find another place to lease, to rent. So it is going to impact people negatively.
And to full-time office will disrupt this balance, potentially leading to decreased job satisfaction. A study revealed that long commutes have been shown to negatively impact job satisfaction and overall well-being. Not that you needed a study to prove that. Everyone hates commuting to work. So what's the potential impact of this for Amazon?
Yeah, and the sad thing is that you can't always just live close to the office, because those places are usually the most expensive. I wish I could live like 5 minutes away from the office and just walk to the office every single day, but that's not the case. Many people have to find cheap places to live, and they are usually like 1 hour away from the office.
Long term. Does this ruin their ability to attract and retain top talent? Well, Professor Nick Bloom estimates that 30% of Amazon staff will quit over this decision. I can attest to this myself. If I was ever to go back to full-time employment, I'd never consider any role other than fully remote. It's something that I'd never compromise on. Think about it. If you're between the ages of 30 and 50, juggling your career with family responsibilities, you don't want to commute to work and be in an office when you've proved over the last few years.
He mentions the age of 30 and above because that's usually when people start settling in with families and start marrying or having kids. When you're a little younger, when you're just starting your working life, you are just you're recently out of college, you probably can have more flexibility to move to other places. But if you already have a wife and kids and it is much harder to move to another place because, well, what if your wife has a job in another city? Or what if your kids have already started studying in that school. So that's why he's mentioning that. Obviously, that's not the case for everyone. Not everyone is merit at 30.
You can do your job from the comfort of your home. So you're likely to start looking for jobs elsewhere. It makes sense. But remember, this is only for the best talent because they receive the most offers from competitors and are used to be able to pick and choose the benefits that they want. Amazon's mandate also restricts them to...
I believe that's no longer the case anymore. It used to be the case that you were a decently talented programmer or a top programmer, you can get offers like very easily, very fast, no questions asked. You you change your status on LinkedIn to looking for a job and you receive like 20, 30, 50 offers from recruiters. Nowadays, the job market is very bad. The tech job market is very bad. And well, all the people that are getting fired from companies like Amazon or Microsoft or just quitting, you have to compete with them. So recruiters in this day and age are not looking so savagely for new employees. That's the sad truth. Even if you are a top programmer, it's going to take you a very long time. I hope that's not the case for you guys, but it is what it is.
Hiring to local talent or those willing to relocate, putting them at a competitive disadvantage in attracting top talent, especially in high demand fields like cloud engineering. Which reminds me, if you're looking for a place that takes you from someone with no prior experience to job ready cloud engineer in 12 weeks, then consider joining my Cloud Engineer Academy. And don't take my word for it, check out Jay's story, who went from banking to cloud hired in less than 6 months. Links in the description. Now, is Amazon the only company doing the return to office mandate?
Many
what
are doing it.
Other top companies doing? Well, Apple, Meta, and Microsoft have adopted hybrid models, typically requiring employees.
Right now, they are adopting hybrid models, but this is the problem that I mentioned it at the beginning of this video. If they see that Amazon is pushing for this change and it works for them, in any way, maybe their purpose is to get people to just quit and they succeed. Well, then Microsoft is going to do that. These companies just look at each other and see what works and what doesn't. And when a company started firing people like a year ago from the tech industry, I don't remember if it was Amazon or Apple or Google or Microsoft. Just see, all of them are doing it right now. It is no longer a bad publicity. So yes, right now, those companies have adopted hybrid models, but that doesn't mean that they are going to keep doing it right now.
Employees to be in the office 3 days a week. Spotify operates a work from anywhere policy, only asking teams to meet in person for 1 week
That's great.
each year. Google requires most employees to be at the office at least 3 days a week, with some teams having more flexibility. Now, outside the tech industry, companies like PwC and Deloitte have implemented return to office policies. The thing is, in the US, 69% of companies offer some form of flexibility in their working arrangement. However, the change in approach from Amazon, one of the largest employers in the world, could cause more businesses to review their hybrid policies.
Exactly.
We're seeing more and more companies make a stark return to being back in the office 5 days a week, which is what the CEO of flexible job site Flexa said. And it's fair to assume many will follow suit. Employees at Manchester United have all been asked to resume working from the office full time. A number of big banks, including Citigroup, HSBC, and Barclays, are also asking more staffers to be present in the office 5 days per week. So what's my personal takeaway and what does this all mean to you? In my experience, when I was just starting out, I learned so much from being in the office. My manager would encourage me to approach people at their desk, to talk and communicate and to find things out.
That is true. When you're just starting out, it is much easier to communicate with people when you are actually in place with them. When I got my job in this company in the tech industry, and I had to go to the office 5 days a week, it was much easier to talk with people when they are, well, right beside you. You can just talk to them when they are when they are sitting right next to you, or maybe at lunch, and when you go to have dinner with them in a team in a team meeting or something like that. But when this when you're working remotely, this is much difficult because, well, if you have to talk to them using Slack or Discord or whatever tool you are using, many people are just not going to care if you are just if you are new and you want to learn, because they are going to ask, well, is this work related or not? What do you want to talk about? So it is much difficult to build lasting connections when you are just starting out with other teammates. Yes, I do agree with him in this regard.
Hands-on approach helped me grow faster and significantly improve my communication skills.
Yeah.
It's much harder to build these real-world connections and grow properly when everyone is remote. For anyone early in their career, I strongly believe they should spend as much time in the office as possible to accelerate their professional development. That said, I understand the challenges for employees, especially around commuting. However, I think there are solutions. Employees could consider moving closer to the offices, or Amazon can provide assistance to those living further away.
Yeah, as I said, this is moving closer to the office is not usually a solution, because as much as many people would love to move close to the office and just walk to the office every single day and don't have to spend 1 hour commuting, that's not usually what happens. People can't afford to just have your apartment or your house 5 minutes away from the office. I remember that when they built the campus, there were some new apartments that were going to be built right next to it, and many people were excited because living right next to your work would save you a lot of time. But when they announced the pricing, nobody got an apartment there. It was just too expensive. And yes, companies can provide assistance, but what kind of assistance can they provide? Maybe they can provide shuttles or buses or whatever, but it's the same thing. You have to move to the office, and it's going to make you spend a lot of time. Yes, you will save a lot of money if the company is paying for the buses or the shuttles, but it's still time wasted.
It's about finding ways to make the in-office experience work rather than avoiding it altogether. Of course, this means Amazon might lose some high-performing talent who prefer remote work, but let's be realistic. Amazon won't be short of people wanting to work for them. They're still one of the most desirable employers in tech. Something that is likely to stop Amazon's mandate, and all other companies too, is legislation. In the UK, for example, the government is strengthening the right to request flexibility from day one of employment. I guess we'll have to wait and see how that plays out, but I do think there's an element of entitlement in some of the pushback. Consider this: many self-employed people like hairdressers, on-site workers, or taxi drivers have to be at their workplace 5 to 6 times per week, or they don't get paid. Now, in comparison, tech workers often enjoy higher salaries, stock options, and great office perks like free coffees, free lunches, etc. And to be honest, this tech culture has become quite relaxed in recent years. And if you're being asked to come in the office 5 days a week, while certainly it's a shift, it isn't unreasonable in the broader context of the working world. Ultimately, Amazon's taking a huge risk in my eyes with this mandate, and time will tell whether this was the right move, and we'll see if other companies follow suit. And if this new return to the office mandate has you questioning your future, then you don't want to miss this video where I reveal the cloud.
It is true. I believe this video is over. It is true that as a company, Amazon has the right to request you to go to the office. It is not something that is impossible. It is just something that annoys people. It's not like it is the end of the world, but yes, it's gonna cause some negativity. And for many years, people in the tech industry were very, very entitled. I'm sorry to say that, but it is true. I saw that with many of my colleagues. They used to complain about the smallest things, like, oh, this water has sugar. Oh my God. We need healthier options. And when the healthier options arrived, oh my God, this doesn't taste good. Oh my God. people sometimes complain about everything, and they don't understand that they were working in one of the best industries, getting paid very well, and they used to complain about everything. And it is true that there is some entitlement going around, that was going around in the tech industry. I used to see and watch many videos from people that said stuff like, "Oh my God, I'm taking a massage here at the I'm taking a massage here at the office, and it is amazing. I'm now taking a road trip. I'm supposed to be working, ha ha ha." So yes, I do believe that that's no longer the case in many companies. But yes, don't be entitled. It is good to have a job, at least if that's what you are looking for. Anyways, thanks for watching. See you next time.